Okay, so we're going to introduce just a quick open water based warm up where what we're doing is we're going to take 6 exercises, we're going to pair them off, so we've got 3 different pairs of exercises, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to work those exercises 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, just a pair of exercises, twice through, and then you move on to the next pair, and then you move on to the next pair. Okay, so the first pairing of exercises that we're going to introduce will be some high knee running and some dynamic hamstring stretching. So James is going to demonstrate some high knee running, very, very simple. Just pick your spot, trying to pick your knees up to hip height, all right, whilst getting a bit of an arm swing going as well. Okay, that's great. You're trying to pull your toes just into your shin. That's brilliant. So we'll do that for 30 seconds, take 15 seconds off. Then James is going to go down onto the floor on his back. Okay, he's going to push his lower back into the floor, and then he's just going to start doing some dynamic hamstring stretching. So pulling his knee into his shin, grabbing his hamstring, and just extending at the knee. And every time that foot comes up, it's just getting a nice stretch through the hamstring. So what you'll probably do is the first time you go around the circuit, you might do your left leg, and then the second time you go through the pairing, you do your right leg to make sure you're hitting both legs. Okay, on this one as well, you also want to make sure you're pulling your toe into your shin. That's it, yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, so the second pair of exercises we're going to do is going to be some quick walkouts and some prone leg kicks. So what we're going to do for the quick walkouts, James is going to stand feet together, all right, stand up nice and tall, and then he's going to lean forwards, put his hands out, all right, and just walking out. So he's getting some good core activation as he goes into that long position along the floor, okay, through his middle. And then as he walks out, we're asking him to keep his legs as straight as possible, try and get his heels down to the floor early so that he gets a nice stretch through the muscles on the back side of his body, hamstrings, glutes, and lower back. For the pro leg kicks, James is going to just take a lay down on the floor, okay, hands out in front of him, just going to make sure he's nice and controlled through here. And then he's just going to be kicking his legs, all right? So nice little mobility exercise, just loosening off the muscles on underneath his legs here, okay, and just getting him nice and warm. That's great. So the next pairing of exercises that we're going to introduce is going to be some mountain climbers and some sword draws. So what James is going to do for mountain climbers, he's going to get down into a 4-point press-up position, okay? He's going to set his hips nice and stable, and then he's going to just pick up some speed, move his legs in and out, trying to get his knees into his chest. And the aim here is to always keep one foot off the floor. So if both feet are on the floor at the same time, it's probably a sign that you're going too slow. You want to try and keep nice, still hips, draw those knees nice and high. That's great. Okay. So for the sword draws, you're going to need a TheraBand. All right, just a light resistance one is fine. What you're going to do is you're going to trap one into the TheraBand, okay? Take a nice, tall posture, chest up, okay? And then just with your hand coming across your body as James is here, drawing the TheraBand up, and you get some great activation through this shoulder here, through the muscles up and behind the shoulder. What you want to look out for this one is you want to look for perfect symmetry in the body, so you don't want to see leaning in either direction, and you want to watch these ribs as well. Make sure these ribs aren't flaring up too much. So if you see too much ribs through a t-shirt, you need to get your ribs down, keep your abs tight, make sure it's all coming from the shoulder. So as with the previous 2 pairings of exercises, you want to do this one for 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, twice through before moving on to the next pairing of exercises. So we're going to move on to like a mobility section now, where we're going to introduce some different stretches that you can do for repetitions as active mobility. And the first one we're going to introduce is a stretch called a Levator Scaputa stretch, and this is muscle in the neck. So what James is going to do is he's going to just try and drop this shoulder down, okay, to tension one end of the muscle, and then he's going to put his hand on top of his head, and he's just going to start leaning his head to his right hand side and forwards. Okay, and the combination of having that shoulder down and also leaning forwards just means that you're going to get a nice stretch through that neck there. Okay, so it's 5 repetitions on one side, and then what you're going to do is swap across. So take this hand off and sink this shoulder down. Okay, and then you're just going to do 5 repetitions on the other side as well to make sure that you hit. both sides of the neck there. Okay, that's great. Okay, so the next one we're going to introduce is some arm openers. So really good one for some rotational mobility. So for all of those rotations you do in your event, this one's great for just opening up that range of motion before you start doing it for thousands and thousands of repetitions. So James is going to just take a lay down on the floor on his side, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to want to bring the knees up to about hip height, okay? And just check that the hips are nice and stable and they're not easily going to be moving around, okay? Starting with your hands together, you're then going to open up, okay? Taking your eyes across with your hand, all right? And you'll get a nice stretch all across the front of your body and through your back as well, just in that rotational plane of motion. Okay, so the biggest stretch is happening as we lay down here. You should try to get your shoulder down to the floor if possible. Okay, if you're having trouble getting your shoulder down to the floor, that's probably a sign that you're extra tight in that rotational range of motion, and you need to spend some extra time doing that. So again, you do 5 repetitions on each side. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is an exercise called thread the needle. Where James is going to be down in a 4-point position this time, so on his hands and knees. Alright, and what he's going to do is he's going to take his hands just up to his temples, alright, and then he's going to start driving some rotation with his elbow. Okay, keeping his eyes on his elbow, and every time he comes up, he's trying to progressively work the elbow higher and higher. Alright, all the while he's trying to keep his hips nice and stable, nice and still. Okay, that's great. Okay, so the next one we're going to introduce is a cat and dog stretch. So for that one you need to be in a 4-point position. Alright, set yourself nice and stable with your shoulders and with your hips. And then what we're looking for is we're looking to take the spine through its full range of motion. Alright, into extension and into flexion as well. So nice smooth movements. Alright, trying to create a nice arch in the bottom. And then slowly up to the top, pulling the shoulder blades apart, creating an arch in the top as well. So we're actually mobilising the spine for its full range of motion. As you do this, you want to take your eyes down as your back goes up. So as your back goes up, your eyes go down, and then as your back comes down, your eyes go up. Okay? And that'll just help really take your spine through that range of motion. Just 5 repetitions. Okay, next one we're going to do is a Spiderman stretch. So a really good stretch to just loosen off your hips. You need to be in a press-up position to start. Okay, and then what you're looking for is you're looking to bring the foot up nice and high, right next to the hand, heel planted to the floor. And what James is doing really well here is, as he's finding that position, he's also sinking his hips down to the floor, and that just deepens the stretch even more so. Okay, so it's no use coming with your foot only up to here, okay? You've got to get your foot as high up to your hand as possible. Just keep your eyes looking down at the floor and sink your hips in to really deepen the stretch. That's great, you'll go 5 each side. Okay, so we're going to introduce a dynamic hip flexor stretch now. And what we need to do is take time to get into a really good position to begin with before we start the dynamic movements. So what James is going to do is going to get down into a kneeling position, alright, and he's going to use a foam roller for stability. That helps him create a real stable stretch. And what we're looking for here is we're looking to create a nice bow around the front side of the body, okay, because it's this portion of the hip that we're looking to stretch. And to help that, we need to make sure that he's got his glute tensed and he's just sitting his hip nicely forward, but without leaning backwards, okay. So he's going to try and stay nice and upright, but with his glute active. Keeping his abs tense as well, and just sitting forward into that. He's then going to take this arm up, okay, so the arm of which side you're stretching goes up, and then he's going to start to rock over, okay, and that just intensifies the stretch by rocking over. So if you come back, and you're just going to do some rocking movements like this, making sure you've got your glute nice and active the whole time, okay. It's this stretch through the front side of the body. 5 nice slow controlled movements each side on that one. Okay, so we're going to do a dynamic lunge with a rotation. Alright, so just taking that usual lunging movement, but also adding a bit of rotation, some extra mobility benefits as well. So starting with your feet together, stepping forwards into a lunge, rotating side to side. okay, pushing out of the lunge, okay, and back in, alright. You can alternate legs, so you're going to do 5 on each leg, making sure, as James is doing well, so he's keeping his elbows up nice and high. That means he's rotating through the top of his back, okay, and getting a nice bit of rotation there. Good job. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is going to be a side lunge, but with a punch out as well. Okay, so what James is going to do is going to set up with his TheraBand. Okay, he's going to take a nice lunge out to the side. Alright, and as he fixes in that position, he then punches out to the side that he's lunging to. And the added benefit of that is that you just get some nice shoulder activation, you get some nice mobility through the front side of the body in that sort of diagonal pattern. Alright, and he's getting some good sort of stability and activation there through his lower body, so it's ticking a lot of boxes. Okay, so once you get your lunge out to the side, you want to make sure you're nice and stable, and that's when you do your punch out. Okay, that's 5 on each side. That's great. So next exercise is going to be a straight leg raise. For this we need to be on the floor, so James is going to take a lay down on his back. Okay, so we've got to make sure we're set up in a really good position before we start this one. So we've got to make sure lower back's pressed into the floor. Alright, we've got one knee that's bent at 90 degrees and the other one that's completely straight. And what James is going to do is he's going to lower down with his straight leg. He's going to bring that leg back up again, okay, and then he's going to swap over. So a little bit of coordination to get this one right. And you'll notice that James is doing a great job of keeping his toes pulled into his shin. His hips are nice and stable, okay, his core's active. He's going to do 5 of those on each side. So the next one's going to be just a kneeling lat stretch. Okay, so those muscles just under your armpit, getting those nice and loose before you start. So what James is going to do is going to get into a kneeling position. Okay, he's going to kneel himself over, bring his hand right out in front of himself. Okay, and it's this side that we're trying to stretch here. Okay, so with your hand planted on the floor, your aim is then to just rock yourself up and down, okay, trying to get your armpit down towards the floor. Alright, and each time you're sinking down, you're just trying to progressively build a bit more stretch into those muscles under your armpit. Okay. That's great, you do 5 of those on each side as well. Okay, so that's the end of the mobility section, the mobility exercises. The next section we're going to go on to is going to be some activation, so activation of key muscles that we're going to be using. So the first exercise in our activation section is going to be a deep squat with a rotation. Alright, so taking your feet at shoulder width, you're going to drop down into a nice deep squat like that, okay, and then just putting your hands together and then opening up, taking your eyes with your hand, okay, just activating all these muscles across your back, alright, and you're in a nice deep squat position there as well, so you get some nice mobility at the same time. So what you do here, you go 5 reps on one side, okay, move your hands across, and then you can go 5 reps on the other side as well. That's great. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to do is going to be some YWs, just laying on your front. So what James is going to do is going to lay himself down, okay, and then just setting himself nicely here, okay, so a bit of tension through his abs, and then pulling himself into a Y position, using his shoulder blades, and then extending up into a Y position. Alright, and all the while he's just keeping some tension here through his back muscles. And you notice that for this exercise you want to keep your hands off the floor as much as possible for the whole thing, so you're not looking to lay your hands down on the floor until you've completed your full 10 reps. Okay. So next one on our activation section is going to be something called push-up plus. What we need to do there is we need to just get ourselves into a push-up position. Okay. So top of the push-up, and then what we're doing here is we're not going to be bending the arms at all. We're just going to be using the motion of the shoulder blades to drop down. So you're dropping your nose closer to the floor as your shoulder blades pull together. As they pull apart, you're lifting up. All that motion is being driven through the muscles surrounding your shoulder blades there. Okay. Big one on this one is to make sure that your hips stay in position and they don't drop down at any point. Okay, so an alternative to that push-up plus, if it is quite difficult, is to just take some of the load off of it by dropping down onto your knees. Go through the exact same motion, but this time you're just on your knees. Okay, that's great. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is an exercise called thread the needle, where James is going to be down in a 4-point position this time, so on his hands and knees. Alright, and what he's going to do is he's going to take his hand just up to his temples, alright, and then he's going to start driving some rotation with his elbow. Okay, keeping his eyes on his elbow, and every time he comes up, he's trying to progressively work that elbow higher and higher. Alright, all the while he's trying to keep his hips nice and stable, nice and still. Okay, that's great. Alright, so the next one's going to be a single leg RDL, alright, which is really focused sort of on that balance of the lower body. So James is going to just step onto one leg, okay, he's going to find himself with some balance, okay, and just leaning over, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to keep this leg up nice and high so it almost gets to the same height as where his head does. Okay, that's great, and it's like a seesaw in action, so nice and slow on the way up, nice and slow and controlled on the way down. And the point at which you know you're getting into a good position is if you feel a bit of a stretch through your hamstring, you know you've come over a good way, and you're getting some good activation through those muscles around your hip. Okay, so we're going to do an exercise called Superman's, which is another one that's focused on stability and control and activating the key muscles around your hips and through your core as well. And what James is going to do for this one is going to get into a 4-point kneeling position, okay? And we want to set him in a position where he's just got a slight lumbar arch, but it's in a position where his spine is in a neutral position, so there's no significant arch coming down or coming up through his back. He's going to keep his abs nicely engaged, and while he does that, he's just going to lengthen the body, okay, arms and legs into a fully straight position, so he's bringing them up to the height of his head, okay. So what we're looking for is nice stability, particularly in this part of the body, and the way we can check as to whether he's been successful or not is if we can put a foam roller just on his lower back. What we're looking for is him to keep that foam roller nice and still and stop it from falling off his back. Okay. If it fell off his back, then there's indication that you haven't got enough stability, okay, and that you need to work on your control. Okay, so that's the end of the activation section. So all those exercises that we've just shown you, you're going to want to do sort of 5 to 10 reps on each one. Okay, so just as the final piece of your preparation before you go and train or compete, you can just do some high intensity aerobic work to bring your body temperature back up to speed and make sure you're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 30 seconds of work and 15 seconds of rest, okay, through some high knees, some walkouts and some mountain climbers. Ordinarily you would do that 2 times through, but for the sake of this we're just going to do 1 time through. Okay, so ready to go? Okay, 3, 2, 1, away we go. Okay, so nice tall position, arms and knees moving, trying to get your knees up to hip height. Doing a great job. Okay, 5 seconds to go. Trying to maintain an even tempo for the whole interval. And relax. Okay, 15 seconds. Okay, so quick walkouts, so looking for those quick hands. Ready, 3, 2, 1, away we go. 30 seconds worth. And what you can do is you can just get a number in your head of how many reps you should be getting on these type of exercises, so you can maintain an even speed from the first time through and the second time you go through the intervals. Okay, 5 seconds to go, 1 more. Okay, that's great, 15 seconds of rest again, and then it's going to be mountain climbers. A nice strong press up position, set your hips, and then we're always going to keep 1 foot off the floor at any given time. And away we go. That's good, you're looking for nice still hips. Knees coming right into your chest, that's great. 15 to go. Okay, good job, James. 5 seconds. And relax, well done. Alright, so ordinarily, like I said, you'd go twice through that, and that would really bring your body temperature up, but we're just doing it one time.